What happens if a Beast Slayer's shell hits an Abrams tank? An epic clash of eras and tech. Hey everyone, subscribe to our channel and drop your comments below. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and let's dive into this epic topic together. A battlefield shrouded in smoke, the air thick with tension, and the ground trembling from the roar of machines. On one side, the legendary Soviet self-propelled gun, the ISU-152, nicknamed the Beast Slayer for its sheer destructive power. On the other, the modern American M1 Abrams tank, a symbol of cutting-edge military might. What happens if these two titans clash? Can a shell from a World War II-era machine pierce the armor of a 21st century tank? This question, like something out of a sci-fi movie, demands a deep dive. Let's break it down with historical facts, military tech insights, economic context, and a bit of imagination to see how this showdown might play out. A clash of generations. The Beast Slayer versus the Abrams. I stumbled across a fascinating question on an online forum. What would happen if a shell from the ISU-152 hit an M1 Abrams? At first glance, it sounds like pure fantasy. The ISU-152, built in 1943, was designed to take out German Tiger and Panther tanks during World War II. Meanwhile, the M1 Abrams is a modern marvel, packed with advanced electronics, multi-layered armor, and defense systems that seem nearly invincible. But let's not jump to conclusions. War is unpredictable, and even old-school weapons can pack a surprising punch. The ISU-152, lovingly called the Beast Slayer by Soviet soldiers, earned its nickname for a reason. Armed with a 152mm gun howitzer, the ML-20, it fired massive high-explosive shells weighing 96 pounds, packed with nearly 15 pounds of powerful hexyl explosive. These shells could punch through armor or obliterate tanks with their explosive force. Back in World War II, a single hit from the Beast Slayer could turn a German Tiger into a pile of scrap metal. On the flip side, the M1 Abrams is a beast of the modern era. Its armor combines composite materials, including ceramics and depleted uranium, making it incredibly resistant to various types of ammunition. Equipped with advanced fire control systems, thermal sights, laser rangefinders, and even active protection systems in some versions, the Abrams seems untouchable. In an open fight, the ISU-152 wouldn't stand a chance. But what if one of its shells lands a direct hit? Let's find out. Real-world tests. What do the facts say? To figure out what might happen, let's look at some real-world data. Back in 1988, the U.S. military ran a series of tests to see how high-explosive shells affect armored vehicles. They used 155mm high-explosive shells from M109 self-propelled howitzers, which are similar to the ISU-152's ammunition. The goal was to simulate how Soviet artillery might attack American forces from long range. Test 1. Artillery barrage. In the first test, the military fired 168 shells in 3 barges of 56 shells each. The targets? Armored vehicles like the M113 armored personnel carriers, M48 tanks, and British Centurion tanks. The results were shocking. 67% of the vehicles were knocked out, even without direct hits. Shrapnel tore through tracks, damaged suspensions, and wrecked sights and observation devices. In some cases, armor was penetrated, though the exact vehicle types weren't specified. This shows that even without a direct hit, a 152 or 155mm high-explosive shell can cause serious damage. Imagine a shell landing near an Abrams. Even if the armor holds, the tank could lose critical systems like antennas, thermal sights, or communication gear, leaving it combat ineffective. Test 2. Direct hit. The second phase, which lasted 7 months, focused on what happens when a 155mm shell scores a direct hit. Unlike tank guns that fire flat trajectory rounds, howitzer shells, like those of the ISU-152, follow a high arc, striking targets from above. This makes them deadly because a tank's roof is its weakest point. The test showed that a direct hit would destroy any armored vehicle, whether it was a tank or an armored personnel carrier. The shell would punch through the turret or hull roof, causing catastrophic damage inside. Airbursts, where shells explode above the target using proximity fuses, were just as devastating. Shrapnel and blast waves shredded external equipment, cooling systems, sights, and tracks, rendering vehicles useless. Even if the armor survived, the tank couldn't fight. Test 3. Massive artillery strike. The third test was the most dramatic. The U.S. set up a fortified position for a reinforced mechanized platoon, complete with trenches, mannequins, and armored vehicles. A division of 24 M109 howitzers unleashed 2,600 high-explosive shells, following Soviet firing protocols. The result? Half the tanks and armored personnel carriers, even those in cover, were damaged and unable to fight. This proves that sustained artillery fire from 152, 155 millimeter guns can cripple even well-protected units. Why the Beast Slayer is still a threat. So, what does this mean for our scenario? The ISU-152's 152mm shell is similar to the ones used in these tests. If it hits an Abrams, here's what could happen. Direct hit on the turret or hull roof. The tank would likely be destroyed. Even the Abrams advanced armor isn't designed to withstand a direct hit from a 96-pound shell packed with 15 pounds of explosives. The blast could penetrate the roof, ignite ammunition, or cause a fire, likely killing the crew. Near Mississippi, if the shell explodes within 98 feet of the Abrams, it could still cause serious damage. Shrapnel and the blast wave could wreck external systems like sights, thermal imagers, antennas, or tracks. The tank might survive but would be out of the fight. Airburst. With a proximity fuse, the shell could explode above the tank, showering it with shrapnel. This would destroy external equipment and possibly injure the crew with the shockwave. Bottom line, one well-placed shot from the Beast Slayer could knock out or destroy an Abrams. In a real battle, the ISU-152 would struggle to get close enough to fire, given the Abrams' speed, range, and accuracy. But if it lands a hit, the American tank is in big trouble. To make this story even juicier, let's talk money. The M1 Abrams isn't just a tank. It's a massive investment. In 2023, one Abrams cost about $10 million, roughly 950 million rubles. That's for a base model, not counting upgrades like active protection systems or advanced electronics. Maintaining an Abrams, including crew training, spare parts, and fuel, costs millions more each year. Now, compare that to the ISU-152. In 1943, building one cost about 250,000 rubles, pennies by today's standards. Even adjusting for inflation, it's a fraction of the Abrams price. A single shell for the ISU-152 cost a few hundred rubles back then, equivalent to a few $1,000s today. That's right, a shell costing a few grand could take out a $10 million tank. War isn't just about firepower, it's about economics. Losing one Abrams is a financial hit. Losing a dozen is a budget disaster. History lesson: why the Beast Slayer was a legend. To understand why the ISU-152 still captures imaginations, let's go back to World War II. The Soviets faced tough German tanks like the Tiger and Panther, which outmatched many of their anti-tank guns. Enter the Beast Slayer. Its 152mm gun could punch through armor or demolish tanks with its explosive power. Stories from the Eastern Front tell of ISU-152s turning the tide in battles like Kursk in 1943, blasting German tanks from over a mile away. The Germans feared and respected the Beast Slayer. One hit could rip the turret off a tank, leaving the crew no chance. But the ISU-152 wasn't perfect. It was slow, its armor was thick but outdated, and its gun was loaded manually, which took time. Against an Abrams, these flaws would be fatal. Yet the Beast Slayer's strength was its simplicity and raw power, a design built to destroy. This hypothetical battle teaches us about modern warfare. Today, tanks like the Abrams face new threats: drones, anti-tank missiles, and guided munitions. But old-school artillery, like the ISU-152, still sees action in conflicts like those in Syria or Ukraine, where Soviet-era howitzers like the D-30 Orms-to-be, similar to the B-Slayer's gun, remain effective. Artillery is a timeless weapon. Modern armies invest heavily in high-tech gear, but it comes at a cost. A single Abrams shell can cost $10,000, while a 152mm shell costs a fraction of that. This raises a question: is it worth spending billions on cutting-edge tanks if cheaper weapons can take them out? The balance between technology and cost is a key factor in today's wars. I dug into online forums and articles to see what experts think. On platforms like Reddit and Quora, military enthusiasts debate scenarios like this. Most agree that a direct hit from a 152mm shell would be catastrophic for an Abrams. Even if the armor holds, the tank's electronics, sights, and external gear would be toast. Some argue that the Abrams composite armor and active protection systems on newer models like the M1A2 SCP version 3 could mitigate the damage. But even they admit that a direct hit to the turret roof would likely spell doom. One forum user put it bluntly: a 152mm shell is like a sledgehammer hitting a car. Even if the frame holds, it's not going anywhere. I think this matchup is a perfect example of how raw power can challenge advanced technology. The B-Slayer is a no-frills machine built for one thing: destruction. The Abrams is a masterpiece of engineering, but it's not invincible. This scenario reminds us that no weapon is unbeatable. It all comes down to tactics, terrain, and a bit of luck. If I were commanding the ISU-152, I'd use cover, camouflage, and high-angle fire to catch the Abrams off guard. If I were in the Abrams, I'd keep my distance, using thermal sights and precision rounds to take out the B-Slayer before it could fire. Either way, this what-if scenario is what makes military history so thrilling. Let's zoom out to the bigger picture. Building and maintaining tanks like the Abrams is a massive industry. General Dynamics, the company behind the Abrams, rakes in billions from Pentagon contracts. In 2022, the U.S. spent $877 billion on defense, with a chunk going to armored vehicles. Meanwhile, artillery shells are dirt cheap by comparison. A 152mm shell costs about $500 to $1,000, while a single Abrams round can cost 10 times that. This economic disparity shows why old-school weapons remain relevant. A country with a smaller budget can produce thousands of shells and cause millions in damage. War is as much about dollars as it is about firepower. This story is just the beginning. The clash between the B-Slayer and the Abrams sparks big questions about technology, tactics, and the cost of war. Want to dive deeper? Subscribe to our channel for more epic breakdowns and military stories. Drop a comment below. Do you think the B-Slayer could take down an Abrams in a real fight? Or are modern tanks just too advanced? Share your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going. Wrapping up, lessons from history and challenges ahead. So, what happens if a B-Slayer's shell hits an Abrams? Simple. It's bad news for the tank. A direct hit would likely destroy it, and a near miss could knock it out of action. But this scenario is about more than just machines. It's about how old ideas can challenge new tech, how economics shapes warfare, and why history still matters. War is about adaptability. The B-Slayer proved that in the 1940s, and the Abrams proves it today. If they ever met, the outcome would depend on skill, strategy, and a touch of luck. Subscribe to our channel, leave your comments, and share your ideas. Let's keep exploring military history and modern tech together.